The Philippines wakes up each morning to tens of thousands of tons of garbage scattered all over its streets. Piled up in its rivers and choking its drainage. The metropolitan region of Manila is the source of over 10,000 tons of waste every day. With only 30 to 40% of it picked up, the rest of it is drained into the waterways, landfills, or in the worst case, burned uncontrollably, thus polluting the air. This phenomenon is not just a waste management problem, but an environment, health, governance, and opportunity crisis. The question that can be wondered is, could this crisis be repackaged as an efficient asset? Is it possible to make a wasted content into energy? This story looks at waste, science, and politics to see if waste to energy can work in the Philippines. In 2000, the Ecological Solid Waste Management Republic Act 2003 was passed. However, modern systems are still overloaded. The city of Metro Manila generates about 11 tons of garbage daily, but not more than half of this amount is collected in the right way. Some waste is not collected, polluting rivers, and streets and drainage systems. Worsening the situation during typhoons. Spreading disease vectors. And adding to the haze of the particles. Another complication is hazardous waste. Data provided by the Philippine Statistics Authority shows that the hazardous waste generation grew by 13% in 2024 alone. The available treatment plants are poorly settled and infrastructure is under provision to demand. The illegal dumping is still increasing. In politics, the solid waste management problem has been described by legislators like Representative Edgar Aris of Caloocan as one of the worst in the world, because about 1.8 million tons of municipal waste are dumped into waterways every year. LGUs or local governmental units are usually poorly funded and poorly regulated, and collection and disposal is controlled by private contractors with minimal regulations. At the same time, climate change increases,
the stakes by means of more frequent and severe typhoons, heavier precipitation, and flooded water infrastructure, which leads to environmental deterioration and negative effects on local communities.
First, we need to understand what actually happened inside the waste-to-energy plant. It all starts when the trucks arrive. They get weighed and checked in before driving into the main tipping hall. Once inside, the waste is unloaded on the tipping floor. Here it gets visually inspected to make sure nothing dangerous or recyclable is hidden in the pile. If they find items that shouldn't be there, they are immediately pulled out for proper disposal. Waste is then pushed into a storage pit. And truly mixed before being loaded into bins, which we call hoppers, where it travels to the combustion chamber. The tipping and waste storage areas are maintained under negative air pressure to contain dust and odors. Once fed into the combustion chamber, waste is combusted at extremely high temperature in a self-sustaining process at approximately 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. A typical hopper load is completely combusted in 1 to 2 hours. As the waste burned, the heat converts water into the steel tube line walls into steam that rises through boiler tubes where it is superheated. The steam turns a turbine-driven generator to produce electricity or may sometimes be used directly for heating or industrial processes. The electricity produced by the turbine generator is exported to local utilities for use in homes and businesses. Each ton of waste can generate 550 to 700 kilowatt hours of electricity. Steam from the process is condensed back into water and returned to the boiler tubes, making it an efficient closed-loop system. After combustion, the volume of waste is reduced by 90%, leaving an inert ash in metal. Collected metal is sold to be made into new products. Remaining ash is beneficially reused or landfilled as non-hazardous waste. Ferrous metals such as iron and steel are recovered using a rotating drum magnet, and non-ferrous metals like aluminum and copper are separated by an eddy current system. State-of-the-art air pollution control equipment ensures that emissions are well below limits to be fully protective of human health and the environment. They neutralize acid gases using lime in a scrubber reactor and inject activated carbon for heavy metal control. They control emission of particulate matter primarily through a baghouse, which employs thousands of fabric filter bags. All flue gas must pass through the bags before exiting through the stock. Throughout this process, the control room closely monitors emission through a real-time continuous emission monitoring system, control steam flow, and manage a number of other automated systems inside the facility. Waste to energy is widely recognized as a technology that helps mitigate climate change. In fact, waste to energy facilities are the only form of energy generation that actually reduce greenhouse gases. This is due to avoiding methane from landfills, offsetting emission from fossil fuel, electrical production, and recovering metals for recycling. And that brings us to the end of our look inside the waste to energy plant. To really understand where infrastructure is going in this country, we need to stop looking at the years and start looking at what is actually being built. We need to see a real project rising from the ground. The best example of this is happening right now in the Visayas. In April 2025, the local government, in partnership with Metro Pacific Investment Corporation, officially broke ground on the Iloilo City Integrated Solid Waste Management Facility. This isn't just a renovation of an old dump. It is a totally new way of running a city utility. This partnership shows a move toward privatization, using a corporate expert to solve public problems. It is a model we are starting to see all over the Philippines as they race to meet a 2026 operational deadline. The scale of this facility is massive. It is designed to process 475 tons of solid waste every single day. To put that simply, it can handle almost the daily garbage that the city produces, keeping it out of the ground. The technology is what makes it special. Developers are clear that this is not an incinerator. Instead, it uses two main systems. First, it produces refuse-derived fuel, or RDF. This takes flammable trash like plastics and wood and turns them into fuel pellets for industrial use. Second, it uses an anaerobic digestion system to capture gas from rotting organic waste to generate power. The result is a facility that replaces the old deteriorating sanitary landfills. For years, those landfills were the only option, often leaking dirty water and smelling up neighborhoods. This new project aims to finally close the chapter of Iloilo's history. Of course, advanced technology comes with a high price tag. The project costs roughly 2.3 billion pesos. That is heavy investment, but the developers argue that the benefits are worth it. What makes this design unique is that it does double duty. The engineering is robust enough to support a desalination system as well. As reported by the Manila Bulletin, this is a crucial detail. By adding desalination, the plant can potentially turn seawater into a drinking water, powered by the biogas made from the waste itself. It tackles two crises: garbage and water shortage, with one single 2.3 billion pesos stone. However, big infrastructure projects rarely happen without resistance. Environmental groups like the Eco Waste Coalitions have raised strong objections, mostly centered on transparency. Their concerns are specific. They argue that while the facility isn't an incinerator in name, the refuse-derived fuel it produces still ends up with being burned by industry elsewhere. They are asking, what exactly the long-term effects? There are fears about emissions. The community is demanding to know what chemicals will be released into the air and how the neighborhoods will be protected. For these groups, the economic benefits do not automatically outweigh the potential health risks to the people living nearby. Despite the pushback, The national government is moving forward. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, has officially supported waste-to-energy projects, viewing them as a vital part of environmental management. The government often terms this project as pro-environmental investments. Their view is that with strict regulation, these plans prevent methane release from landfills, which is far more damaging to the climate than controlling processing. This matches the broader policy landscape. The DENR has already published guidelines for local government units who wants to build them. Iloilo is just the beginning. Other cities like Quezon City and Cebu are watching Iloilo closely. If this facility succeeds when it opens in 2026, it will likely become the blueprint for the entire nation. To fully understand the future ways in the Philippines, we cannot simply guess. We must look at the nation that already have solved this problem. We look to the leaders who have turned their garbage problem into energy solutions. We begin our journey in Sweden. In this country, the concept of trash as we know it has almost disappeared. While other nations bury mountains of garbage every day, Sweden recycles or recovers energy from 99% of its household waste. Their system is so efficient that they actually run out of garbage. In fact, to keep their power plants running, Sweden imports waste from other countries like the United Kingdom, Norway, and Italy. They are literally turning other people's problem into their own power. But how does this directly help the people? It is not just about electricity. The heat generated from burning waste is pumped directly into a national network called district heating. This warmed nearly 1 million homes during the freezing Scandinavian winters, replacing the need for dirty coal or expensive oil. However, this only worked because of a strict system. You cannot just burn everything. In Sweden, sorting is not a choice, it is a way of life. They use optical sorting system, where bags of different colors, green for food, blue for plastic, and separated automatically by machines. This ensures that recyclables are saved first, and only the true leftovers go to the furnace. Now let us look closer to home. We travel to Singapore. Like the Philippines, Singapore is an island nation with very limited land. They simply cannot afford to dig massive landfill pits. Their solution is a large-scale high-tech incineration. When we hear incineration, we often think of the dirty, black smoke of the past. But Singapore has proven that the technology has changed. Their modern facilities are nothing like the open fires of decades ago. These are scientifically managed energy plants. Inside these plants, the air goes through a massive cleaning process. They use advanced filtration systems that scrub the smoke with hydrated lime and activated carbon. This traps the harmful chemicals and heavy metals before they can ever reach the sky. The air coming out of their chimneys is monitored 24/7, and it's often cleaner than the air on a busy city highway. But what happens to the ash? The burning reduces the volume of the waste by 99%. The remaining sand like ash is transported to Semacao. This is not a dump. It is a man-made island. It is so clean that mangroves grow there, and birds migrate to its shores. It proves that the engineering can coexist with nature. However, we must be realistic. This success story teaches us a vital lesson. Waste to energy is not a magic wand that fixes everything instantly. It is merely the final step in a long chain. If we simply burn unsorted trash, we will fail. The global standard is the waste hierarchy. First, we must reduce what we buy. Second, we must must reuse what we have. Third, we must recycle materials like glass and metal. Only then, for the materials that cannot be saved, do we use combustion. This hierarchy must be respected. Finally, the most important ingredient is trust. In both Sweden and Singapore, the government is transparent. The people can see the data. They know that the emissions are safe. For the Philippines to succeed, we must replicate not just the machine, but the discipline, the laws, and the honesty that makes the system work. We stand at a crossroads. For decades, we have viewed waste as a burden, a smelly, dirty problem to be hidden away in the corners of our cities. We have treated our rivers like trash cans and our open spaces like a dumping grounds. But the vision we have explored today offers a new perspective. It asks us to see waste not as an end, but as a beginning. It asks us to see value where others see garbage. It challenges us to turn a national problem into a national resource. We are all too familiar with the consequences of inaction. We see it, the floods that rises higher every year, choked by plastic. We feel it in the fear of every typhoon season, knowing that our clogged waterways cannot handle the rain. But imagine a different future. By shifting a sustainable waste to energy model, we do not just generate electricity. We clear our waterways. We reduce the volume of trash by 90%. We give our land a chance to breathe and recover. This means energy security for our provinces. This means cleaner air for our children. It means that the plastic bottle you use today does not end up in the ocean, but becomes the light that powers your home tonight. However, this journey will not be easy. It requires a maturity we have struggled with in the past. It demands total transparency from our leaders. We need to know that the law are followed, not just written. We need integrity when no one is watching. And it demands discipline from every household. It requires us to stop saying, "Not in my backyard," and start asking, "How can I help?" It starts with a simple act of separating our trash at home. Waste to energy is not a miracle cure. It does not replace the need to reduce what we consume. But it is a vital tool, a bridge to a cleaner future. It is a science-based, responsible approach to a crisis that has gone for too long. This documentary is not just a collection of facts. It is a call to action. It is a reminder with the ethics, intelligence, and collective determination, we can turn our problems into power. The technology is ready. The world has shown us the way. Now, the Philippines must decide to take first step.